Now, Matthew wrote his gospel for the church in Antioch, Syria, more than a half century after Jesus' death and resurrection. So you might say that this entire gospel was written to show the way to this church of how to move from or to end. The church in Antioch was founded originally by Jewish believers, as were all the churches at first, but its location and its missionary endeavors brought many Gentiles into the fold. And that ancient tension between Jews and Gentiles had to work itself out in the church if that church was to be culture-making, not just culture mirroring. Matthew shows us that church that is a unity in diversity is actually even rooted in Jesus' own experience. His example should guide them and us. They had to learn how to open their arms to people that they used to stiff-arm instead. And yet, we are still pushing people away in the church. How can we read passages like this one and then defend our rights to discriminate against all kinds of people, black, indigenous, people of color, immigrants and asylum seekers, poor people, gay and transgender persons, people of other religions? How can this be? I've just finished reading the new book by Robert P. Jones, White Too Long. Good God podcast alert, by the way. The title comes from a statement by the writer James Baldwin. I will flatly say that the bulk of this country's white population impresses me and has so impressed me for a very long time as being beyond any conceivable hope of moral rehabilitation. They have been white, if I may so put it, too long. What an indictment. Jones goes on to chronicle what that means. The most damning part of the book is the way the Christian church in America developed and defended a theology of white supremacy. This remains embedded in our beliefs and practices even now, long after many have rejected the overt racism of the Klan. Jones thinks this theology is rooted in the twin paradox of protection and purity. As long as we can keep our churches free from those who would pollute our purity, we will be blessed. But once that becomes your mission, instead of extending the profligate grace of God to others who seem different from you in a myriad of ways, you get trapped in a cramped room that leaves little room even for God.